In this video, we're going to work on example 9.8 from your book. If you'd like to follow along, open the Chapter 9 classwork.xlsx workbook from My Courses and click on the EX 9.8 worksheet tab. In this example, we're going to use moving average for 2 period, 3 period, 4 period, and calculate all of the errors to find that forecast which minimizes the mean absolute deviation, the mean squared error, and the mean absolute percentage error. So the first thing that we're going to do is create our forecast for k equals 2, k equals 3, and k equals 4. For k equals 2, remember we have to have 2 previous observations. So for k equals 2, we're going to have to start at week 3. So I'm going to click in cell C6 and I'm going to type equals average, open up the parentheses, and take the average of the first 2 observations. So I'll take an average of cells B4 and B5, click on B4 and B5, close up the parentheses, hit enter, click back on the cell, and then use that fill handle to fill it all the way down to 18. And once again, if you'd like to get rid of those green triangles, just click the down arrow in the information box and just tell it to ignore the error. We know exactly what we're doing. Now, if we want to use k equals 3, we need 3 previous observations. So we actually have to start on week 4. So I'm going to click in cell H7, which is going to be for week 4, and I'm going to type equals average, and I'll take the average of the first 3 observations. So after opening my parentheses, I will click on the range B4 to B6, the first 3 observations, close up my parentheses, hit enter, and once again click back on cell H7, because if I use the fill handle from here, I'm just copying nothing down. So I'm going to click back on cell H7 and grab that fill handle, drag it all the way down to row 21, week 18, and once again, to get rid of those triangles, just click the information box and ignore error. Now finally, for k equals 4, we need 4 weeks to forecast the 5th week. So for k equals 4, we're going to click in cell M8 and we're going to type equals average, open the parentheses, and then take an average of the first 4 weeks. So B4 to B7, close up the parentheses, hit enter, click back on the cell, use the fill handle to copy it all the way down to week 18, line 21, and once again let's get rid of those triangles by clicking on the information box and clicking ignore error. Now this seems like a lot of work, but believe it or not, if we do this correctly, we only have to put the formulas in for columns D, E, F, and G, and then we can just copy them for I, J, K, and L, and N, O, P, and Q. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to calculate the error. The error is the actual minus the forecast. So what I'm going to tell Excel to do is to take the actual for week 3. So click in cell D6, type an equal sign, and then I'm going to click on the actual for week 3, which is going to be cell B6. Now thinking ahead, as I copy it over, I know my actual is always in column B, but I will want to change my actual from week 3 to week 4 to week 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the F4 key on my keyboard, or for you Mac users, just type the $ for the B, So I'm going to cycle until it says $B6. So every time I copy this formula, it will always take the actual from column B. Then I'm going to subtract and click on cell C6, so it will always take the value from column B and then subtract the one that's just to the left of the current cell. So this formula will actually work in column I, and it will work in column N as well. So I'm going to hit enter, but I'm not going to copy it down just yet because I can copy all of the formulas at the same time. Now, to calculate the absolute deviation is just the error without the sign. So a -6 would turn into a 6, a +5 would turn into a 5. So there is actually a function that calculates the absolute value equals ABS. So I'm going to type equals ABS, returns the absolute value of a cell or value of a number without its sign. I'm going to open up the parentheses and just tell it to take the absolute value of the cell that is one to the left of the current one. So I'm going to click on D6, close up my parentheses, and then hit enter, and notice now my -6 is turned into a +6. The next thing that I have to do is square my error. It actually doesn't matter whether I square column D or column E, because -6 times -6 is +36, and +6 times +6 is 36. So what I will do is in cell F6, I will square E6. So to do that, click in cell F6, type an equal sign, click on cell E6. I can either multiply it by itself, not by myself, multiply it by itself, so I could do E6 times E6, or I could do E6 and then type shift 6, the little hat, and then type the number 2. That will square that number. So if I wanted to take the 3rd power, little hat 3, 8th power, little hat 8. So I hit enter, and you notice that 6 has now been squared to 36. Now, to calculate the absolute percentage error, what we're going to do is we're going to take the absolute deviation and we're going to divide it by the actual for that amount. So to calculate my absolute percentage error, I'm going to type an equal sign. I'm going to click on my absolute deviation, which is cell E6, and then I'm going to divide it by the actual, which is in B6. But once again, thinking ahead, as I copy this over, my actual units sold are always in column B, so I want to change that final cell reference either by hitting that F4 key or just typing it. I want that final cell reference to read $B6. So cycle until it says $B6, and I hit enter. Now what I can do is I can take all of my 4 formulas from D, E, F, and G, so I'm going to select the range D6 to G6, and now I can drag that down. I don't want to drag it all the way down to week 18. I only want to drag this down to week 17 because I don't have an actual for week 18. So I'm just going to drag my fill handle and drag that down to week 17. Now we're going to calculate the mean absolute deviation, the mean squared error, and the mean absolute percentage error. To do that, all we have to do is take the average of column E, the average of column F, and the average of column G. So I'm going to click in cell E21, and I'm going to type equals average, open up the parentheses, and then select the range E6 to E20, close up my parentheses and hit enter. And notice we have the same answer as in the book, 13.63. Now I'm going to use my fill handle. So I'm making sure that I'm on cell E21. I'm going to use that fill handle, bottom right hand corner, skinny plus, and drag that to column F and column G. And you can see that we have 254.38 and 0.236, which matches the book, except that your book has column G in percentages. If you'd like to see column G in percentages, we can just select the column, click the Home tab, and in the number group, just click the percentile button and increase it 1 decimal. Now the cool thing is that the way we've calculated these formulas, we don't have to redo them for k equals 3 and k equals 4. So all I'm going to have to do is copy one line of these formulas. So I'm going to select the range D6 to G6, and I'm going to, on my Home tab, I'm going to click the copy icon, or I can hover over the selection, right click, and choose copy. Either one. I'm going to use my copy icon. Now I'm going to click in cell I7 and I'm going to click paste. And notice if I double click, it shows me what formulas are involved, what cells are involved. So it is taking the actual from column B and subtracting the forecast from column H. My absolute deviation is taking the absolute value of the correct number. It's squaring the correct number. And my absolute percentage error is calculated correctly. So now all I have to do is select the range I7 to L7 and use my fill handle to drag that down to row 20. We don't want to go to 21 because we're going to put our averages. So I'm going to click in cell J21. I'm going to type equals average, open up the parentheses, and select the range J7 down to J20, close up the parentheses, hit enter, click on cell J21, and use the fill handle to copy that formula, J21, K, and L21. Now we're going to do this the last time for k equals 4, but if you take a look at the book, we have our 14.86, our 299.84, and 25%, as long as we change column L into percentage style. Column L is percentage style, but not the total. So we can change our total to 1%. Now finally, we're going to do the same thing for k equals 4. So I'm going to copy my formulas I7 to L7. Make sure I'm on the Home tab. Hit my copy icon in the clipboard group. Just click cell N8 and click the paste icon, also in the clipboard group. Use my fill handle. Copy those formulas down to row 20, week 17. And once again, just take my averages in columns O, P, and Q. So I'm going to click in cell O21, type equals average, open up the parentheses, select the range O8 to O20, close up the parentheses, click on cell O21, and then copy that formula to column P and column Q. So now, looking at our three, MAD, mean absolute deviation, MSE, mean squared error, and MAPE, mean absolute percentage error, it looks like our winner is K equals 2. That has the smallest absolute deviation of the three. It has the smallest squared error of the three, and it has the smallest mean percentage error of the three. So now we've learned how to use error metrics in order to decide which is the best number of units to use for our moving average.